Good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Michael Stewart said that he's been proved wrong when it comes to Celtic, letting go Kyogo back in January for £10 million off to Rennes, and then buying back Jota for £8 million, £2 million in the bank, and getting Jota back and moving Dyson Maidan to the middle. It's been absolutely fantastic for Celtic. Police Scotland. Yes, while you celebrate squirting water bottles, we will celebrate with champagne, spraying champagne. It's as simple as that. Celtic are on the course for a 55th title this season, and it's just weeks away. 3 more wins will see Celtic complete that historic milestone for Celtic to make us undoubtedly the most successful team in Scotland and in the UK. But Cherny will receive no police action, that I seen yesterday, over the Watergate incident. Of course, he wouldn't receive anything because it was just squirting water on fans. He didn't lay a finger on them, really, so it was just a water bottle. But I suggest that he will feel the wrath of the SFA at some point once they decide to look into it. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just go, you know what, it's our club, everything will be fine. Towns will forget about it in a few weeks and it'll all be hunky-dory. But like I say, they can celebrate squishing water bottles. We'll celebrate championships with champagne. Anyway, we move on from that because that was old news. Even though a lot of Celtic supporters did raise concerns with authorities over the incident. Now, I've seen one other. You've got to love Keith Winus. Keith Winus loves talking about Celtic. And he mentioned an article, like he does, about Brendan Rodgers a few weeks ago, saying that Brendan Rodgers would leave Celtic as soon as possible. He would leave Celtic as soon as possible, as soon as a big offer came in. And I've said, and I've stuck to it, saying that Brendan Rodgers will not leave before the end of his contract. He may even extend his contract now at Celtic. And Keith Winus has now turned around and said, Rodgers should sign a long-term deal at Celtic. At least be consistent. The ex-Aberdeen guy and the guy who used to run the SFA he just likes to get his name out there and talk about Celtic and just change his mind every time. But anyway, he's said that Celtic are expected to hold talks with Brendan Rodgers, and we all know this. Brendan Rodgers has been asked about it, and Brendan Rodgers said that it won't be a difficult conversation. It won't be a difficult conversation that him and I wonder if it'll be Nicholson that will have the conversation with it, or it'll just go straight over Nicholson's head, the same as it was when Brendan came back. I mean, that was nothing to do with Nicholson and co. Well, Nicholson wasn't even at Celtic at that point. It was nothing to do with Lawwell and co. It was the owner just picked up the phone and says, Brendan, I want you back. Like a bad Take That song. But having won, he's on the course to win a treble this time. His win ratio at Celtic the second time round, he's played 98 games, he's had 70 wins, and 14 draws and 14 losses. Goals for 259 this says, and 104 for. Won the Scottish title last year, won the Scottish Cup, missed out on the League Cup last season, remember, after that ridiculous start to the season where we lost out to Kilmarnock at the beginning of the season in August, and that's something that we really weren't prepared for, and it was a bit of a disappointment, especially after the season that Ange Postecoglou had the year before. But now the fact that we are going for another domestic treble under Brendan Rodgers, I think it will be an easy one because he wants to see Celtic doing even better in the Champions League. He wants to prove to the doubters, and there was a lot of Celtic fans out there that said that he shouldn't be back at Celtic. He wants to prove that he can take Celtic that little next step of getting into the last 16 of the Champions League. Now, whilst other teams may laugh and say, oh, Celtic never get through to knockout phases, it's a bit different getting into the knockout phase of the Champions League compared to the Europa. I will say that because you're up against the best teams in Europe, not the second tier that you're in the Europa. And fair play to teams that do get through in Europa because, you've still got to play. I mean, it's like saying that Celtic should have won more trebles when a certain team wasn't in the SPFL. You've come and beat what's in front of you. And the fact that we've been on a fine form run of trebles since then is testament to the current manager. But the current manager does want to take us to the next level in the Champions League. How many players and what positions do you think that would take to get us that little bit further? I mean, the obvious thing that we need to think of is going into games and not getting anyone sent off. Will the master plan be for next season in the Champions League? Because Dyson Maida has been sent off a couple of times in the Champions League on the wing. And wingers kind of get targeted in the Champions League to slow them down and stuff. And, and will he be better getting a full pre-season and playing in his favoured position and then going into the Champions League qualifier in early August and then hopefully into the Champions League? Will Dyson Maida be better? And will we still go for another striker? Or will Celtic just go, do you know what, we don't need another striker? Which I think, do you think that we do? There's the one for the comments this morning. Do you think that even though we keep Dyson Maida as our main striker and you have Adam Ida as backup, do you think that we still need to go out and get Matthias from Brøndby? Or has that ship now sailed? Even though there is an 8 million buyout clause that comes into effect this summer, Brøndby did want 14 million from him at the winter transfer window. They wanted to hold on to the player to the end of the season. With the reduced clause, will it make it easier that if Celtic don't get their man, or is it a case of the biscuit tin mentality coming back to Celtic and not pushing us forward, not bringing in a player that could potentially replace Dyson Maida in a couple of years' time? Or maybe Brendan Rodgers and the team are thinking, do you know what, there's a younger guy at another team that we're watching and he's maybe 2 years away and we've got Dyson Maida for another couple of years and maybe we'll wait and just pick that player up. You don't know. You don't know what's going on in the background. And would you like Celtic to come out and tell you what they were doing? Is that the type of content that Celtic should be doing? And talking about, you know that it will never happen because it will affect contract negotiations and it would ultimately put the price up for players. But just let's hope that we don't have a summer like last summer when we went for Adam Ida. And we knew we wanted Adam Ida. Everyone at Celtic wanted Adam Ida. And I think the only issue that we've had with the Adam Ida situation this year is the fact that we spent £11 million for him. Now, that was no fault of Celtic. But remember back to what Brendan Rodgers said the Monday morning when, it was the Monday afternoon, no, in fact, it was the Friday after the Monday when we signed Adam Ida. And he turned around and said, it's amazing how quick that deal got done, wasn't it? And that was remembered because Kyogo Furuhashi went down holding his shoulder. And Brendan Rodgers did say at the end of that window, he thought that the people upstairs that were doing the contract negotiations and contract talks could have done things a little bit quicker throughout the summer. Brendan Rodgers spoke about it when we were in America. He was asked about certain players that were potentially coming to Celtic. And I think that Celtic actually lost out on a few of their targets last summer due to the elongated contract talks and deals just falling through because I think that Nicholson doesn't get things done quick enough. It'll be interesting to see if we can change that. But then it's weird because when Ange Postecoglou was in, everything got done like that. Are they pushing the boundaries to see how far they could push Brendan Rodgers this time? And will Brendan Rodgers put his foot down? And it is also a massive, massive summer for the football doctor. Yes, Paul Tisdale is going to have to step up to the mark and hopefully he'll have a conveyor belt of players that Celtic can bring into the first team and make a big, big difference. Brendan Rodgers has said, look, I love to give youth a chance. Well, you've got between now and the end of the season to prove that you're going to give youth a chance and what youth players that are coming through can ultimately make the step up to the squad for next season and being around the first team squad. And it's a really difficult situation, that, because when you think about it, a younger player that comes into the first team squad, you're trying to displace a tried and tested player. The SPFL doesn't give you much leeway to bring in players unless you're 3 or 4-0 up. And you can say yes then, but who do you leave off the bench? Brendan Rodgers generally has one player for each position on the field, on the bench. And it's these type of things that we need to think about in Scottish football. And maybe that's a talk for during the summer. Would you like to see the league expanded so that there's not as many cutthroat games? And when you look at, and I'm going to say it, the team that we played at the weekend, Hearts, they're the 17-year-old boy on their first team. They have just put a 16-year-old into the B team that I know very well. I don't know him that well, but I know his dad, and his dad's over the moon. Other teams seem to be able to bring youth through the system, but Celtic aren't really doing it. As much as I don't like Hearts fans and the club, it's fantastic to see what they're doing with youth development. It's way ahead of Celtic, way ahead of Celtic. And it's just, I'm only saying this because I've seen it on a personal basis. I mean, I see my family members' Facebook every day talking about it. And it is amazing how they are bringing youth through the system and having that little bit of a conveyor belt into the first team. It's something that Celtic seem missing at the moment. Hopefully we can rectify it with this new £20 million complex down behind the Celtic Supporters Association Club. When's that going to be finished? Celtic haven't given us an update. They give us a great update when it's like, yes, the steelwork's going up. Surely it can't be that far off now getting completed. You would think it would be done before the end of the season. I mean, it was started last year. Anyway, maybe someone can give us an update on that. And if not, so be it. Make sure you join me. Will there be a live tonight? There may not be a live tonight. I do have an appointment. Stick with me with this format. It is unfortunate that we had a power surge and it blew the memory. It blew the motherboard on the laptop, so we're having to use a different system and everything, but it's okay, we're still managing to go. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are. Chris Boyd losing the plot with a genuine question about defending Greg Taylor. Jesus, what's Chris Boyd talking about Greg Taylor for? Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.